All right, our next guest, I am so honored to have, is Claudia Hehr. Claudia provides a voice for animals. She's a special person capable of having a two-way conversation with our four-legged friends. While most of us talk to animals without hearing any responses and returns, she can actually hear the specifics of what the animals are trying to communicate. You can check out her website at claudiahehr.com. That's Claudia, Hehr.com. Go check it out. A lot of great photos on there, a lot of great things. Let's go ahead and get Claudia on the line. Claudia, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk and the Fringe Radio Show.
Hi, Pat. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you
so
for.
Excited.
Oh, I am too, and thank you for giving up some time on a Saturday night to spend time with us.
It's an honor being here, and I wanted to thank you, and I want to thank the listeners for, checking in and finding out what's going on here.
Well, why don't you? I am so interested how you got when you found out about this amazing gift that you have, and as I mentioned before before you actually called in before the news break, of again how we've had the opportunity to talk to so many people who have psychic abilities, and we talk about communicating with those on the other side, people that are intuitive, but we don't address our four-legged friends that much. And while most of them or all of them are so loving and compassionate, we forget about them, and sometimes we forget about their feelings, or maybe just see them wag their tail or give us kind of that look in their eyes. But How did you find out that you had this gift, and how did it all start for you?
Well, first, if I may say, this is not just the four-legged animals. This is literally all animals.
Okay.
I communicated with the smallest one-cell amoeba to the biggest right now known animal on this planet, which is the blue whale. So you can literally communicate with any animal, being it your dog companion, your horse companion, your cat, the little ant that's just walking across your desk. You can communicate with all animals on the same level.
Very interesting.
The way I came about it is, first of all, we can all do it. We just don't know that we can. But I had a very special relationship with animals since I can just remember. Animals have been always very special to me. And when I was really small and I saw an animal, I just somehow knew what was going on in this animal's life. And I just thought, that's normal, you know what I mean? I thought, everybody, because, you grow up and you see a flower, you see the flower. You don't question it that that's a flower, right?
Right.
So I saw an animal and I just knew what was going on. I mean, the animal wasn't fed, the animal wasn't walked, the animal wasn't treated well, whatever, right? Or the animal was looking for something. I just knew. So for me, this was absolutely normal. And then sort of kind of, again, when I saw an animal that wasn't treated well, I thought, how can that happen? How can that be if people kind of can see animals and speak to animals the way I can? And then, I think I was around 4 or 5, something like that, and I finally said to my mom, I told her about it. And my mother said to me, I should be quiet or they would come and pick me up, with a straitjacket and put me in the loony bin. And if you're that young and your mother tells you that, you sort of kind of believe that, right?
Right.
And so I didn't really tell anybody about it anymore except for my sister. But the ability has been there, again, since I can remember. I just didn't really know, because I didn't get any feedback from anybody, I didn't really know that you can actually talk with animals as well and not just picking up things. Okay. Like I said, with a flower, you see a flower, but you don't know that you actually can take the flower out of the ground and put it somewhere else, kind of thing, till somebody shows you.
Right, exactly.
And that came way later, but I just had to be shown how telepathy works. And I took one course, just an introductory course into telepathy. And, I mean, there's usually a whole series you have to take, but I just took that one course, and the rest is history.
Interesting. So when did you start again? At what age did you start doing this?
I mean, I did it. I communicated for friends quite a while, but as a profession, professionally.
Yes.
I started. Oh boy, I think it's like 17 years ago, something around that area. So it's been quite a while.
When when you communicate with animals, and I've had one or two other animal communicators on, Claudia, are there some animals, let's just, for the sake of the conversation, let's talk about maybe a typical pet, a dog or a cat or a bird or something that people have in their homes. Do they recognize, through telepathy and different techniques, do they respond right away, or again, we're always like we've got a couple of big dogs and a couple of cats, and of course the cats can tend to just be cats, but the dogs, of course, when you give them something to eat or you pet them on their head, their tails wag, and you can just see, you can see the happiness in their face. When you actually communicate with them, are some maybe a little hesitant, or are some of them surprised that they understand you at a different level?
Okay, that's a really great question. First of all, what we have to see is usually what we've been taught. The thing is what we've been taught with what's really true is two different things.
Okay.
It's sort of like 100, 150 years ago or whatever, people thought the earth was flat.
Right.
And if anybody said something different, it didn't look so good. Now we all know that the earth is round. So what's happening with animals, the beliefs of what's handed down from generation to generation is still that the earth is flat.
Right.
So most things that you believe about animals, for example, like a lot of people think that dogs are dogs, cats are cats, birds are birds, kind of thing. But you literally have to see each animal individually. And each animal, like each human, is on a different level. And animals, for me, I think it's very important. We have to first understand who are animals actually, because as you said, you see a dog who's wagging a tail, we think they're happy, kind of thing. But what we have to see first is who are animals. Animals are living souls, just like us. We are living souls, right?
Right.
Actually, all souls are living, but we are soul in a three-dimensional being, right? In a three-dimensional state right now, who has chosen a body, and that body that we have chosen gives us the best opportunity to grow in this lifetime what we want to do.
Right. Exactly.
So animals are the same. Animals are souls who have a package. So you're a soul who has a package. I'm a soul who has a package. Even that we are two humans, we are totally different, right?
Right.
So that's the same with animals. So I see animals actually as, rather than a different species, I see them as different cultures.
Okay.
So, you have the North American culture, you have the European culture, or the German culture, the French culture, the English culture, and then you have, for example, the dog culture, the cat culture. So that's how I see it.
Right.
So again, we have to see each animal as an individual. And most animals, they are just so open, they're so happy when we finally talk with them, because animals talk to us all the time. The only thing is that most people, unfortunately, they can't hear it. They do hear it, but they don't understand what they heard. So when I communicate with animals and translate what they say to their guardians, most guardians say, I thought that. But again, they haven't really learned how to, quotation mark, hear it.
Right.
So again, animals talk to us all the time. And since I've been doing it professionally, I think it has only happened 3 times that an animal didn't want to talk right away. One reason was that the animal that I was trying to get in touch with had just at that moment left her physical body. So, of course, there was, there's more attention that has to be spent to that rather to a conversation. But half an hour later, we were able to communicate. The other one was actually a dog in heat who said, I really don't want to talk to you right now.
Right.
And then I had a client, she had 4 or 5 dogs. And we started with the first one, and the first one was just so skeptical, said, nope, not right now. But as soon as we talked to all the others, he kind of was there, hey, me too, me too. So it can happen that they don't want to talk right away, but, give them a few minutes, and they're right there because, again, animals, they're so happy when we finally listen to what they say because they talk to us all the time, all the time, all the time.
But we're just not listening or not listening correctly.
Well, yes, we don't know how to understand it. It's sort of like if there is a language that you don't speak and somebody talks to you in that language, you kind of hear it, but you don't really hear it. Or you can also think about if you go into a crowded bus or subway, you hear a lot of noise.
Right, a lot of background noise.
Exactly, but you don't really hear conversation till you actually tune into that conversation. So it's the same thing with the animals. They talk to us. We don't really hear it because we haven't learned how to hear it or understand it, translate it, till we finally, tune in.
Well, let me ask you, Claudia. I mean, as human beings, of course, maybe let me back up a little bit. I personally believe, through my experiences in life and everything I experience in life and continue, that what makes me, what makes you, and all the listeners, is that spirit, is that soul. I like to refer to it as the essence of the person. Mm-hmm. We've got the physical body, but it's of course we experience as human beings. We're experiencing this planet, this time, this place. And of course, as humans, we've learned a lot of things. We've gotten educated. We've gone through schooling. We've had life's lessons. With animals, though, because they don't go to any, there's really no formal education, if you will. Is their communication pattern more? Do they convey more feeling to you, Claudia, or is it very, very simple communication? Mm-hmm. Because, again, I don't believe, unless I'm really wrong, my dogs aren't able to read. I know they can comprehend things, but, their comprehension level, to me at least, would seem like it's somewhat narrow.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's the thing. A lot of people think when you communicate with an animal, it's like talking to a 2-year-old. This is absolutely not true. Animals know about the stock market. You can talk to them about the stock market, but it's not important. For the animals, who cares if that stock is up 10 points or down 10 points or whatever? It's not important. Animals are incredibly intelligent. When you talk about school, if you think about birds can build nests that if there's a tornado coming through, that nest is still there. And they build it without going to school, without using hammer and nail. That is quite incredible education. A quite incredible talent. I can't build a house. You know what I mean?
Right,
I would have to go to school for that. So animals are very, very intelligent. They might not have the skills to use a computer, but to be really honest, if it would be, like here, we had, where I live, we had around the Christmas time, we had an ice storm, and we were without power for 9 days. So there's no computer, there's no nothing. So, what skill is more important, to use the computer or to know how to survive with, like animals do? So I think this is actually way more important. So, but again, animals, you can talk to them about absolutely everything. Again, if you want the stock market, you can talk to them about the most important or the most common reasons why people contact me is about behavior and wellness. But we can also talk to animals about, for example, what are your wishes, what are your dreams, what are your beliefs? Because animals, even that it seems like they are so limited, they are not. They're learning, they're evolving, they're actually balancing this planet. So again, there's not really a difference. It might just seem that they're limited with that because, we tie them up all day or something. First of all, I don't believe in that.
Right.
Right. Just to make that clear. But just because, again, they're not out there in the business world doesn't mean that they don't know what's going on.
Right, and the thing is with your comment there, we do that a lot. For their own good. They're like I have 2 dogs that I love with all my heart, and they're in the house. But when we're gone, they're stuck in the house, if you will, because I don't want them to run out in the street or get out of the yard or something like that. And maybe my one dog loves to chase birds. She'd chase them right into the middle of an expressway, and that wouldn't be good, But I think we do these things for their own protection because we want to protect them.
Right. And I totally, and we do that also, with us. We have to be also educated how to live in this very high high speed and high technology world.
Right.
So that's the same with animals, because again, they don't really put a lot of value onto that. So the animals that live with us, we have to actually educate how to live in this new human world. That's the same thing. If I would have lived in somewhere, who knows where, and without electricity, and I'm coming here now, somebody has to show me how things work.
Right.
So, it's kind of the same thing. So, but with the animals, we have to educate them how to live in this human world. And when we communicate with them, I give you an example. I had a gentleman who got in touch with me because he actually does a sport with his dog companion. And he said there is something that for 6 years he's been trying to do. His dog always never did it. However he tried. And what that was is this dog had to do a blind search. So literally had to run around the blind, then the next one, another one. So there were 6 blinds. And he, it was a female. She had to kind of go in an 8, to circle each of them like in an 8 figure, and always started at 1. And what she was looking for was in number 6. And for 6 years, she went to number 1 and then right to number 6. And of course, in competition, she lost a lot of points. So again, training-wise, they tried everything. So I communicated with her, and I said to her, why do you do that? And she says, well, I know that what I'm looking for is number 6, so why should I, Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, duh. Totally logical. So I explained to her that, you know what, this is not really the goal. The goal is to see that you and your guardian, you do teamwork. It is actually about teamwork. That he asked you to do something, and you do it, and you work together. This is what this is all about. And I said to her, can you do it? And she said, of course. Because now it made sense to her. But before, the training, which is we do it so, I don't like the word training because it's sort of like, I say this, you do this, without any explanation. It's kind of so, too, if you go to work and your boss tells you, you do this way, you do this that way, and you do it and you think, well, there's actually a much easier way. Why don't I do it the easier way? And you do it the easier way. But then, finally your boss tells you, yes, but if you do it this way, you miss one step. For example, could be something in the computer. The program is programmed to do it a certain way. So if he would have told you that from the beginning, you would have said, no problem, of course I do it that way.
Right.
So that was the same with the dog. Nobody has ever sat down with her and explained it to her. Once she knew, she said, absolutely, no problem. And she did it perfectly. Gotcha.
Well, again, and that's, I think so many of us, we just regard them as, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we regard them as just as a pet, as a companion for our own needs, and we sometimes just don't realize that they have needs of their own, more so than just sleeping or going outside. I mean, they're intelligent creatures.
You're so right, Pat. Especially, I see that a lot with behavior issues. I don't like to call it problems because a lot of people say to me, my animal companion does this and this, and it's wrong, or I don't want this. When I talk to the animal, the way the animal does it, like 99%, makes total sense. What we want doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Right.
So sitting down and explaining things so that the animal knows why we want that, and then also the guardian knows why the animal does it, helps so much. It's absolutely incredible. Like I said, when I talk to animals, like I said, 99%, it really makes sense.
Very true. We've got some questions for you, Claudia. You want to take a couple?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Our friend Durhuff on the East Coast writes in, and he says, Claudia, do you know how animals feel that every now and then we need to put them to sleep, especially if they're very ill? Do they hold that against us? Do they think we should have done more?
Okay. You know what? That's an amazing question. I really, really appreciate that question. Thank you so much. Animals, they don't usually hold it against us. But if you're in that situation, I would highly recommend to talk to your animal companion about it before it happens, because many times animals are let go too early. They would like to stay a little bit longer. And I had actually just in March, one of my dog companions left his physical body. He was in a wheelchair for a year and a half, and for a year he had no bowel or bladder control. And at the beginning, he had, of course, some hind leg issues. And when it came to the point where I really couldn't walk anymore, I said to him, okay, what do we do now? I mean, I support you in whatever decision you make. I said to him, there's literally, there's the thing that there's a wheelchair possibility, or leaving your physical body. And he said, well, I don't want both. And I said, okay, but we have to do something. So
Right.
I took him a couple of days, and then he said, okay, because I tried a wheelchair. Because my vet said, actually, I have to let him go because he's a large dog, wheelchairs don't work, and so on and so on. So, but he wanted to stick it out, and I said, that's fine with me. I mean, I support you, I help you anyway. So I got him a wheelchair, and I actually needed 3 wheelchairs till I find the right size and everything. And he was doing fantastic. And then it came to the point where his front legs, they thought it was, it's kind of like MS, like, the body slowly but surely, the whole body stops to, gets paralyzed.
Right.
And it gets to the point where it affects the lungs and the heart. And he was at the point where he couldn't really use his front legs anymore either. And, I said to him, okay, what would you like to do? If you tell me, I mean, there's absolutely no problem if you want to stay like this. I mean, I move you around, like whatever, I support you. And he then said to me that, he said, he knows it's coming close. And then he asked me, he wanted to do a couple of things, which I did with him. And after we did that, then he said, I'm ready now. And he told me exactly where, how he wanted to do that. And then the transition is so much easier. And so it's a very, very important thing to talk to animal companions about, what they want, are they ready? And then afterwards, I talk to my animal companions right after when they leave their physical body, and I stay in touch with them.
Right.
So that, we can talk about everything. Because when animals leave their physical body, they don't leave us. So what happens is actually that the relationship changes from a physical to an energetic. So I say, for example, I have 4 dog companions in physical form and 6 in non-physical. So I have 10 dog companions and 3 cats. And so I talk to them all the time. And animals, I remember when my first dog, left his physical body, I didn't really know, again, I was 12, so I hadn't that ability yet. And then when I started to talk to animals, so I left the physical body, I got in touch with him years and years later, and he was so happy that I finally got in touch with him and talked to him again, because he had never left me.
Interesting.
So animals, when they leave the physical body, I prefer saying moving on. I don't like the word dying, because dying seems to me so final.
Right.
It's literally, you're just moving on. You're moving on from physical to non-physical.
Right.
But again, they are never, ever, 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 ever gone. They're just a thought away. And if it has left the physical body, I highly recommend actually that you get in touch, because it's sort of, there's always things that are not said that we wanted to say, or, you know what I mean? And a lot of people are scared of doing that, but don't be. It's one of the most wonderful things to talk to animal companions after. And they have things to tell you. It's just absolutely amazing. It's amazing. They give you advice. I had this one dog who gave her human companion all kinds of business advice, what to do, how to do it. It was really neat.
Well, we become so attached with them because they're so, people that abuse animals, I have such a hard time with, because if they're capable of doing that to an animal, they're definitely capable of doing that to another human. and they're just there. I mean, yeah, every now and then, unless someone like you is involved, we do meet some animals that maybe have a bad attitude, or the mean dog, or the mean cat, or and I think a lot of times they're not necessarily mean. I think they're more afraid. I have my son has a golden doodle or a labradoodle. I'm sorry, he'd kill me if I told you that. He's a labradoodle, and he's a great dog. He's the most loving dog, but he's only loving to our family. He doesn't like strangers, and he doesn't try to bite them by any means. I think he's scared of them. He has a kind of an inner circle of people that he trusts. But he's a great dog. He just wants to love you, and every now and then we got to yell at him a little bit because he can get a little rambunctious. He's only a year old, but he's huge. But you look at his face, and it's like even when you're mad, he looks up at you with those eyes, and it's like there's just no way you can be mad at this guy. They're so innocent, Claudia, and they're just there for you all the time.
Yeah, when I see that, I just start crying like crazy. But you brought up a really good point. When you adopt any animal into your family, especially if they have a past, so to speak, it's a very good idea to communicate with them, because most people, let's say they go to a shelter or a rescue, and they say, well, I don't know the past. But you can talk to animal companions about that. Ask them what happened to them. It is really, it's sort of like, let's say you've been in a relationship.
Okay.
And your partner cheated on you. You found out, you're devastated, right?
Right.
Then you have a new partner. You have a new relationship. And maybe it happens again. Okay, fine. Then the third relationship, you start to be really, really, you don't maybe trust this person because, you had a past. So you're kind of overbearing. You're constantly, where are you? What are you doing? Why didn't you call me? Now, your partner thinks, what on earth? Like, she is just horrible. I mean, I can't move anywhere. She's just suffocating me. It's just horrible, But then if she sits down and says, you know what, I've been cheated on in the last two relationships, then the new partner could say, oh, why didn't you tell me? No problem. I'll help you through it. So all of a sudden, the understanding is totally different. So with animals, it's the same thing. I mean, they act a certain way because something might have happened to them. But if we don't know, then how can we help them? Or we don't understand. I mean, I had this one lady, and I love this example. She rescues bull mastiffs.
All right, everybody, we're back. Fringe Radio here tonight. Our guest is Claudia Hehr. Again, Claudia, thank you so much. It's such an honor to have you on the program this evening.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't we go ahead? Sorry for we had quite a few commercials to burn through that time. Why don't you go ahead and pick back up again about you were talking about a woman you worked with and her dog.
Yes, it's about, when animals have a past.
Right.
So this lady was rescuing bull mastiff, which is a pretty big dog breed. She knows that breed. She rescues them. She works with them. Her dog companions were bull mastiffs, so she really knows that breed. She called me one day and said, Claudia, I have this dog. He's around 2 years young. I had him for a year and a half, and to this day, I cannot touch him or feed him unless he's in his crate. Otherwise, he just cowers down and shakes and shakes and shakes. I've tried everything. I tried training, positive reinforcement, behavior modification, everything, but nothing works. So I communicated with him, and I talked with him. And the first question he asked, well, first of all, to tell you, he was one of the most abused animals I ever have spoken with. Like, he was almost beaten to a pulp when he was, the first 6 months of his life. It was horrendous. So when I communicated with him, the first question he had for me was, when is she, so the lady he was with now, going to hurt me? He was there for a year and a half. She never laid a finger on him. But he was expecting it. He said, at one point, it will happen. It will just happen. That's my past. And even after 1.5 years, he still thought one day she will just freak out and will let me have it. So I was able to explain to him that he was now safe, that she would never raise a finger to him. That would be his forever home. She would do anything for him. He was safe. Now, this conversation, after a year and a half, this lady tried everything. One conversation, I get a call 3 days later and she says to me, Claudia, the same dog is now sitting beside me on the couch eating off my plate. So this conversation changed the life of the dog forever.
Wow.
That's the power of communicating. So training, everything didn't work because, yes, there's training, but this dog still had the fear. So once we were able to explain to him that he was safe now, he could finally let go of the past. So that's with any behavior. If there's a past, we don't know, it doesn't make sense. Ask the animal, why do you do that? What's behind it? And you will be able to so much better understand your animal companion and really work through it.
Interesting. Another question for you that came in from one of our good listeners, Red, who is on the other side of the pond. He is in Great Britain. Says, Claudia, how have you fine-tuned your skills since discovering this gift? Is it all just self-taught or intuition?
The thing is that, like I said, I only took one course. The beginners, literally, just the beginners. The course that I took, there were people that communicated with animals, and who knows, I was there. I've never had really communicated with an animal, so I felt like, this is the wrong course, right? But it just opened my eyes kind of thing. But when we communicate with animals, what's really important to know is that don't be focused on one way. When you start communicating with animals, there are different channels. You might get feelings, emotions. You might hear words. You might see a picture. Some people see colors. You just have a feeling. It could be many, many different ways. So you have to see what you're responding with or to, and then what you do is you just practice and practice and practice, like building a muscle when you start to lift weights, and you will get better and better. But what's really important is that you're really flexible. So if somebody says to you, you have to hear it one way or another, it might not be your way right now. So listen to yourself, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the whole communication telepathically, even with people, you can communicate with anybody in everything. It doesn't happen in the head. It happens in the heart.
That's the first place you need to look. You've got
Exactly.
a book out now. I was looking through your website. Again, the website for our listeners can go take a look at it. It's Claudia Hehr, ClaudiaHehr.com. Do you have a book a book called If Only Animals Could Talk? Is this book available or something you're working on?
No, it is available, yes.
Okay.
It's a very short description of what is animal communication, and then it has quite a few conversations that I had with animals because again, we talked about it earlier. Some people think it's like talking to a 2-year-old. But in this book, I show you a whole variety of what you can communicate with animals about. It's absolutely amazing. It's not in the book, but I had this really funny experience that a lady came to me and said, I would like to know why my horse companion doesn't jump in competition. And the answer was, I don't like the guy that you're dating.
Wow.
So the horse took that opportunity to tell his guardian, you're dating the wrong guy. So who would think about that? You know what I mean?
Get rid of him or I'm not going to jump over those fences.
Well, that didn't have anything to do with that. That was just because the horse didn't want to be sold. So, I said, I don't want to do that. But it just answered with something totally different. So in my book, you will really see a variety of, again, it's not just about do you like your food, do you want a bone? You can communicate with animals about absolutely everything. One story is in the book about a dog who had the choice between having a leg amputated or being euthanized. So yeah, it's again, you can talk about absolutely everything and anything with animals. So don't think about it's a 2-year-old. Absolutely not. They are. I mean, of course, if you talk to a kitten, a 6-week-old kitten, this kitten might not know his life purpose or something. But they grow up as well, and anything it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's well. Again, animals are amazing creatures, without a doubt. They, I find and don't take this the wrong way. I think what's so amazing, again, for those that like myself that don't have the gift that you have. Well, again, you work on the gift. You work on this, but there's they're complicated, but they're so simple. It's their simpleness, it's their kindness that makes us just love them. You know, they're innocent. They really, really are.
Yeah. It's they're just absolutely amazing, and they have so much love, and they're so forgiving, and they're so open, and they're so helpful, and it's incredible. I mean, having an animal as your friend, it's just like I feel so blessed having my animals in my life because they're just so amazing. They help me, they support me. I support them, I help them, of course, but they're doing it without. When animals do something, they don't do it without what is in it for me.
Right.
If an animal gives you advice, they really mean it. They don't think about what's in it for me. So, for example, if let's say you're thinking about moving into another state, and you talk to your friend about it, your best friend, and say, you know what, you think I got a much better job there, my boyfriend is there, my girlfriend is there, whatever, then your friend really would like to give you an honest answer and says, yeah, great thing, but still feels, but please don't move because, I will miss you.
Right.
So that is always then, but have you really thought it through kind of thing? If you ask an animal, they don't have this what's in it for me in the back of their mind. They really are honest.
That's very true. Yeah, they're about giving everything up, and even their lives. All the animals, the canines that the law enforcement uses. It is interesting how here in Salt Lake City, and I think it's starting to across the country and around the world, that the canine animals are being more recognized. They used to just be, considered a working animal.
Yeah.
But I know here in Utah, just a couple of months ago, one of the canine dogs down in southern Utah was killed in the line of duty. And they had a full-blown funeral and a memorial, and it was good to see that because, again, that dog went and did what it needed to do to protect people and the officer with no questions at all.
That's absolutely awesome that they did that because last year I spoke with a police dog here too out from BC who was honored for his achievements, and he was basically. There was a guy who was threatening, like it was in an open space to kill people, and they sent a dog in. The dog went in to take the guy down, and the guy literally was stabbing the dog repeatedly and slitting his throat open, and the dog never let go. I mean, I'm starting to cry now. Right. And when I talked to him about that, he said, "But I wanted to help. This is what I was asked, and I wanted to protect." He didn't even let go by having his throat slit open.
Right. Gave his all. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it was lucky because the police then came in, they took him and they drove him to the closest emergency vet and with the police in front of it, everybody was stopping ahead like the traffic lights and whatever. So, but he without thinking about, hey, my throat is slit open, let go. He was holding on till the end, till somebody else supported him.
Exactly.
I mean, these are animals. Like, I mean, if you think about the word animal, for so many people, it's so negative. And for me, it's just such a beautiful word. When somebody said to me once, your life really went to the dogs. And I said, thank you. That's a compliment.
Claudia, we've got to wrap up in just a minute or two. Why don't you give out your website, and if people want to do sessions with you, they can do that they schedule that through your website, is that correct?
Yeah, they can email me or just call me. My telephone number is on my website, and I have clients all over the world, so I'm really lucky that way. My website is Claudia Hehr, that's ClaudiaHehr.com. And I would be so much looking forward to meeting more wonderful animals. Because when I communicate with an animal, I learn every single time as well.
Exactly. Well, your site is great. People need to go take a look at it. There's videos on there. There's all kinds of information. That's how I came across, and I wanted to get you on the show. And again, what we talk about, while we call it Fringe Radio, it's those things that are a little out of the ordinary. It's the things on the edge that a lot of us don't think about, but we really need to think about and to be open-minded. And I think the more open-minded we are, the better lives we can live, and the more things we can understand about ourselves and our animals and our friends and our family.
Absolutely. I think when we learn more about animals, we also learn more about ourselves because they teach us about us a lot.
Exactly. Claudia, thank you so much for being here tonight. We'll get you back on again down the road and hear about more of your work. And again, it was such an honor to have you here tonight. And I want to thank you for giving up this time on a Saturday to be here with us and talk to our listeners.
Pat, thank you so much. And again, thank you everybody for listening. It was a pleasure and it was an honor. Thank you so much.
Okay, my friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll keep in touch and talk to you soon.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.